Without there be no R&D in Indian industry, barring the government, is the pharma sector. Extremely high R&D. If you look at the data, which is not here, some other work which I'm doing, some book I'm writing, actually it turns out that the Indian companies are doing much better than the foreign companies. The recent case of some from foreign companies, some takeovers and M&As taking place in India is more for trials and clinical trials than for actual markets. So actually the Indian companies haven't been doing, haven't been sort of, have actually outcompeted, despite the fact that the Indian FDI regime is extremely liberal. So there's a lot of synergies in R&D, there's a lot of gains, and I don't see why, given the story we've told about China, why we need to continue with these negatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Manoj. Please. Now, before I invite the discussants to discuss these two papers, I'll just make very briefly a couple of observations on these. First, about the paper by Dr. Ahmed. I don't have much because both papers are very informative, and I think I agree with the point Manoj made that this might be one sector from which one can really go into a big way into the cooperation and trade. But in Dr. Ahmed's paper, one thing that could have been added, or I mean here I'd like him to consider, is somewhere one could make a comparison of price. Although Manoj later mentioned about this, but none of the presentations have ever any sort of comparison of the prices of some particular drugs being sold in the market, which could show how big is the gap and what is the kind of gain, if we are thinking of gain to the consumers, how big could be the gain in terms of, this is a possibility, but there may be difficulties. Again, I have also a couple of points on the paper by Manoj and Devjani. These are not more into the policy, this is more on the sort of methodology and other points. One point I have about the paper is in the one slide they showed that India's major sources of imports are Switzerland, Germany and US. But my impression is China is a major source, because currently there is a huge import of the bulk from the drugs in the China, and we are making formulations out of that and selling that in the country and abroad. So they may like to take a look at the data as to, and the second, 3 points I have. The second point I have is about this trade complementarity index. It was not very clear to me how it's being computed. Nonetheless, a figure of 67 or 70% is not low, and that's really quite high in the trade complementarity. Again, this will substantiate the point that there is scope of greater trade, but they may like. But a more important point I have is about the unit values. Now, the problem with the unit values is that while China overall average unit value may be low, but when they export to Pakistan, the unit value may not be low, because it's not that same prices are being charged. Of course, a particular country which is selling, say, bulk drugs, they may price it in a different way in different countries. When the same bulk drug to India, they may be charging much low because there's a huge competition here and it may not be possible. So you price it to the market. So if this comparison was made with India's unit value export with Chinese unit value of exports to Pakistan, then that is done. So that would have been much more revealing than what has been done. But perhaps it's possible. But I can surely see if one compares what Chinese generally charge other countries and what Chinese charge the Pakistan, there may be a difference, and it may be worthwhile bringing that out, that they are somewhat overcharging when it comes to a country. And it's quite possible then, say China sells to Bangladesh, they may be charging still more because they don't have any industry. So you always charge to the market, and when they sell it in India, they sell. So you have to be careful in doing the analysis of industry values. I stop here, and I will now invite the discussants. We have the two discussants here. Just I'll go by the according to the program. Now I've lost the program. It doesn't matter. There are two of them, but maybe I should start with Aradhana first. So I'll invite Aradhana first to speak.
Okay. 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 So I'll make a few points only. Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank ICRIER for inviting me to discuss these papers, in particular Nisha. Now, I would also like to congratulate both the speakers for bringing out some very important points. For instance, Waqar talked about the way Pakistani pharmaceutical industry has grown over time and how it is now becoming more competitive in the market, exports, imports, production, everything is increasing there. He also talked about the structure of the pharmaceutical industry there and the advantages that the industry has. I'm happy that he brought out certain points, which of course he did not elaborate, but he did touch upon, and they were like R&D, this biotechnology sectors and things like that. He also talked about alternative medicines. Of course, this presentation was not given to us before this, so we did not really know what is there actually, but in the presentation I saw that he has touched upon some of these issues of alternative medicines also. So from there, we move on to Manoj, where he talks about the Indian industry, and actually he is more into the comparison of India and Pakistan. A very glaring difference between the two presentations is that Waqar actually focuses on FDI as a way forward, whereas Manoj has talked about the trade as an important factor to really move forward. So we can actually, I will make some comments there also. But let me just briefly start with the overall presentations of both these speakers. I felt in these presentations that the basic statistics was missing for a reader about the exports, imports over time, and the structure of those imports. Of course, Manoj did talk about API and formulations, but what has been the growth over time? We really don't know from the statistics that he has given. So it would be good to see how the trade has been moving. And it is very well known that over time there has been liberalization of trade on both sides. So how those factors have affected trade? Have they really made a difference? So I think that would be very interesting to see through a time series analysis there. Then about Manoj's paper, he talked about certain ratios which were very interesting, I must say. But I felt that there could be some broad ratios, macro ratios also to begin with. For instance, the revealed comparative advantage, export specialization, trade intensity index. These could actually give us a broad idea of the kind of the structure of the trade between the two countries. So somewhere we could have some more macro kind of analysis to really familiarize, to really evoke the interest of the reader who is not really following these issues. So that is my first comment on these presentations. My second comment is about the statistics or the way pharmaceutical industry is seen. Now, what I understand is that Pakistan side has got a lot of comparative advantage in surgical equipments. Of course, this is not a part of, if you look at the NIC code, then this is not a part of pharmaceutical industry, but I think this is a very important component. And there they have got huge advantage, whereas Indian side has got advantage in the pharmaceutical products per se. I do not know what all Waqar has included in his medical and pharmaceutical product. I was just wondering whether he has included surgical equipments or not. Is it there? Yeah, so that's what actually I had thought. So, but he hasn't really, brought out that point very clearly. So Pakistani actually has RCA, and there is a study by LUMS on pharmaceutical industry where they have shown that Pakistan has a comparative advantage in surgical equipments, whereas India has revealed comparative advantage in pharmaceutical products and medical equipments. So, and over time they have maintained this kind of, their position, and the revealed comparative advantage is actually very low for pharmaceutical so far as, in fact, in the entire region except India and Nepal. So this is what the study has brought out. So perhaps, these three components could be discussed along with formulations and API, what Manoj was talking about, because then we could see that there is a complementarity between the two sides. On the one side you have products, and on the other side you have the surgical equipments to trade between the two. And this is also very important given the fact that intra-industry trade ratio is very small. What Manoj had shown, even for bulk drugs, it is very small. It is 0.12 or something, whereas the highest value is 1. So there also one can see that perhaps the possibility of this intra-industry trade may be very low. Perhaps inter-industry within the pharmaceutical sector could be a better possibility. So that could be actually seen. Inter-industry means equipments and products. This is what actually I meant to say that. So this is how we can, in fact, bring out a holistic view of what is really happening on these sites. Now, unit value is being talked about, but unit value, there is a problem there. Pakistani prices are heavily regulated. So the prices are very low on that side. So, one has to really factor that into account. And if there is a competition, they really would like to have more flexibility in determining the prices. So if you look at these sectors, I mean, don't focus only on the trade policy or only on FDI policy. You have to look at overall industrial policies as well, because they are not really getting that much of space for investment in the sector. So that is one thing that we have to. We also talk about the quality of the quality of pharmaceutical products there. So perhaps, the lack of perhaps the small profit margins, perhaps the tight regulation of the industry is really a inhibiting factor, which needs to be looked into, to make them really competitive and to move ahead. So these policies should also be a part of the discussion when we talk about the way forward. Yeah, so this was yeah, then the third point was about, my third point is about the alternative medicine. It is said, I've seen some papers where it is said that Pakistanis have actually developed a lot of competitive advantage in alternative medicines. So what are those advantages? Because in India also we are trying to promote that segment very keenly. So can we actually collaborate there? Then biotechnologies, that is what actually I would like to bring up, very seriously. Not much has been said about biotechnology sector, but in India, I do not really know but Pakistan, but in India there is a huge push that is given to Indian biotechnology sector, and there are several special economic zones that have come up, and huge funding is given now to R&D, and there are certain schemes which have been there which have been introduced to promote startup companies and entrepreneurship, and these are based on private-public partnership and in R&D. So perhaps we can take from there, there is something to collaborate in R&D, and this is what our Waqar actually brought out in his presentation, which was not really elaborated. Perhaps in the paper it is there. So perhaps there, we have a lot of scope. So technology transfers may be an important part of the two sides, the important part of collaboration between the two sides, because a lot of R&D has been taking place in India and perhaps in Pakistan also. So there also we can look at the complementarity and see how those technology transfers and collaborations can be promoted and how this can be taken forward. And then I also found out that Pakistan has a comparative advantage in livestock and veterinary medicines. So, what are these advantages? How? Because Indians are demanding that. There is increasing demand for such medicines in India. So can we actually really look into these issues and we can really see how these can be promoted? And my final point is about the 35 or so negative list items. Unit analysis was there in Manoj's this thing, but I felt that those prices may be distorted because of the fact that prices are heavily regulated in Pakistan. So this exercise has to be looked into with some caution. But of course, we could actually look at the potential by looking at what are those negative list items on both sides, and how much is the potential there. How much is the trade that is happening on Indian side or on Pakistani side in those 35 items or in those items which are in the negative list, and how they can actually be carried forward. I mean, if they are relaxed, then will it happen? Will it actually lead to more trade or not? Because is India actually exporting those products or not? Or does India have comparative advantage in those products or not? So I think these issues can actually be seen and see how the trade on two sides can be collaborated. Final point is, pharmaceutical is not a sector. It is not an industry. It should not be looked upon as an industry, because this is one industry which is directly related with the consumer's welfare. It is about the community health. It is about the community welfare. So one should not actually protect it because of certain industrial interests, certain national interests. We have to look at the interest of people on both sides, and this has to be looked upon from that perspective by the policy makers on both sides. How best we can serve this community, how can we best improve the health of our people, that is what is more important. And I think the way forward is competition, both ways, and this is how we can actually lead to improved quality, both sides. It's not only one side, I'm talking about both sides, how we can actually improve quality, and how we can actually lead to more R&D and more growth in these sectors, because our type of diseases are not there in advanced countries. Advanced countries are not investing in those diseases which are prevalent in our countries. So this is what is very important, if we understand that this is what is our requirement, and perhaps this collaboration in these areas may be very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aradhana. Before I ask Aparna to speak, just one, sometimes with this age, just one thing that comes to my mind. In the Indian rural sector, I really believe a huge proportion of drugs that are sold are fake or substandard. Now, obviously, a free trade with no barriers, no restriction, this is a great danger that I would like to draw your attention to. Aparna, please.
Thank you. You never said how much time I have. 10? Okay, thank you. That's very, very liberal.
Yeah.
I knew it. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share a few comments in less than 10 minutes. I think I will pick up from where Aradhana left off with a heartfelt appeal that this is a health sector which matters for the community of, and in fact it falls within the purview of the current South-South cooperation, looking beyond India and Pakistan. I'll just come back to India and Pakistan. So given that the developing countries have decided to collaborate in high technology sectors, which includes pharma and health, this is indeed a sector where one has to think of the greater good and think beyond just a positive or a negative list. I will only touch upon some of the things which have come up but maybe not discussed as much, and what I would like to see. Before that, one quick pointer to Manoj and Devjani's presentation. There was a slide where you were talking about the trade diversion in Pakistan, comparing the overall trade imports from China versus India, and where it was China was taking over. And yet when you looked at the 6-digit level and compared the negative list, you said the imports which were coming in from China into Pakistan were not there in the negative list. So if the trade value of import has increased from China within Pakistan, it's probably not some of the items, I mean, at a more disaggregated level, that was coming from India. I mean, somewhere you need to reconcile between the 2 points that you were making. And while I think Waqar made the observation, also the fact that Manoj's discussion went into details of the FTA between China and Pakistan, it is pretty evident that there is no more market access given to China as opposed to India. So in some sense, there is no more favorable condition. And if China has emerged as one of the significant import sources in Pakistan, so is it for India, even without a free trade agreement. So in some sense, when we are talking about these competitiveness issues, I know we keep going back to the intra-industry. At some point, I think one could also look at the fact that where are these destination exports markets of, let's say, China, of Pakistan and India. So Manoj summed it up by saying we are looking west, whereas Pakistan is looking more east, except that you do have US being common in both the list. But it's also to do with the fact, which is the standard of the medication, the FDA approval, and which goes back to regulation. And that's what brings me back to the one point I would really like to stay on, that is regulation aspect. Waqar made an observation that India seems to be more restrictive than Pakistan in its trade regime. Also that India tends to have a scanner on the medications coming in from Pakistan. Perhaps it is to do with this approval. And again, regulations matter so much because this is a high technology formulation, patenting being very high in the sector. So the state of regulations in the country matter a lot in terms of FDI coming in. So when you compare both in your presentation as well as Manoj's, you compare the FDI regimes, and you said that, well, Pakistan certainly has a more liberal FDI regime than India. You couldn't hear? Okay, all right. I'm short, yeah, it should have been shorter. So if Pakistan has a more liberal FDI regime and yet you're not attracting as much FDI as opposed to India, which seems to have, whether it is to do with mergers and acquisitions in the last 6-7 years. But either way, what stands out is the fact that we do have a lot more of FDI. And that is again to do with the institutional regulations which is in place. So in some sense, the regulatory aspect being so important, I felt that maybe the two analysts could have spoken a little bit more on specifics of some of these regulations, right? For India, for example, as emerging is one